The lights in the main arena of Nexus Station blazed brighter than a small sun. Captain Lisa Martinez stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching the crowd fill the massive stadium. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy pushed into their seats. Some had tentacles instead of arms. Others had scales that glittered under the arena lights. A few breathed through gills that opened and closed on their necks. Lisa wore her crisp blue uniform with the Earth Federation symbol on her shoulder. The gold bars on her collar marked her rank. She had been a diplomat for 8 years now. She knew how to smile and nod at the right times. She knew which aliens liked firm handshakes and which ones found touching rude. But today felt different. "Captain, are you sure we should be here?" Lieutenant Jake Sullivan asked. He stood next to her in the diplomatic viewing section. His voice carried worry. The ambassador said this was optional. Lisa looked at the ring below them. It was 50 feet across and made of some kind of metal that could bend without breaking. The floor had a rough texture that would give fighters good grip with their feet or claws or whatever they used to move around. "We need to understand other cultures, Jake," she said. "That's what diplomats do." The truth was simpler. Lisa was tired of sitting in meeting rooms and listening to other species talk about humans like they were children. Weak children who needed protection from the real galaxy. She wanted to see what all the fuss was about. A deep sound filled the arena. Not quite a horn, not quite a roar. The crowd went quiet. From tunnels around the ring, fighters began to enter. Lisa had read about some of these species, but seeing them in person was different. A Threxian stepped into the light first. It looked like a bear crossed with a tiger, but twice as big as either. Its fur was silver and black stripes. When it opened its mouth, Lisa counted 4 rows of teeth. The crowd cheered. Next came a Vorthak. Lisa had never seen one before. It moved on 6 legs and had skin like gray leather. Its head was too small for its body, but its arms were as thick as tree trunks. Each hand had 3 fingers that ended in claws longer than kitchen knives. "Jesus," Jake whispered. "How do humans compete with that?" "We don't," Lisa said. "That's the rule. The rule. Everyone in the galaxy knew it. No species could challenge another in single combat, unless they had similar physical abilities. Humans were classified as Class D beings. Soft skin, weak bones, limited strength. They could fight other Class D species in sporting events, but anything higher was forbidden. The Karathi owned Classes A through C. They had been the galactic boxing champions for 300 years. No one had even come close to beating them in the last century. The arena announcer's voice boomed through speakers built into the walls. It spoke in Galactic Common, the trade language most species used. "Citizens of the Federation, today we witness the strength and honor of our greatest warriors." More fighters entered. A Zelkan that looked like a walking tree with eyes. A Mokhtar with blue skin and arms longer than its body. Each one drew cheers from their home species in the crowd. Then the tunnel at the far end of the arena opened. The crowd noise died to almost nothing. Even beings who didn't breathe seemed to hold their breath. Vestan the Unbreakable walked into the light. Lisa had seen pictures, but they hadn't prepared her. The Karathi champion stood 9 feet tall. His body was covered in natural armor that looked like polished black stone. Forearms moved with perfect coordination. Each hand could probably crush a human skull without effort. His head was shaped like a triangle with small eyes that glowed red in the arena lights. When he moved, Lisa could hear the click of his armor plates shifting against each other. He had never lost a fight. Not once in 20 years of competition. "That's not possible," Jake said under his breath. "Nothing can be that strong." Vestan walked to the center of the ring. He raised all 4 arms above his head. The crowd exploded into cheers and roars and sounds Lisa didn't have names for. He turned slowly, letting everyone see him. When his glowing eyes passed over the human section, they stopped. Lisa felt like a mouse being watched by a hawk. The first match began. A Threxian against a Vorthak. Lisa expected it to be brutal, and it was. The Threxian was faster, but the Vorthak was stronger. They crashed into each other like spaceships colliding. The sound of the impacts echoed through the arena. After 5 minutes, the Vorthak landed a blow that sent the Threxian flying 20 feet. The big cat-bear creature hit the arena wall and slid to the ground. It didn't get up. "Winner, cracks of the Vorthak clans," the announcer called. 3 more matches followed. Each one was violent and brief. Lisa began to understand why the rule existed. These beings could kill each other with their bare hands. A human wouldn't last 10 seconds against any of them. Then Vestan stepped into the ring. His opponent was a Mokhtar named Grelthos. The blue-skinned fighter was 8 feet tall and looked like he was made of twisted metal and muscle. He had won 15 straight fights. The betting odds favored him to at least make the match interesting. The fight lasted 37 seconds. Vestan moved faster than anything that big should be able to move. His forearms struck from different angles at the same time. Grelthos tried to block, but blocking 2 arms left him open to the other 2. The Karathi's blows sounded like hammers hitting meat. When it was over, Grelthos lay unconscious in the center of the ring. Medical teams rushed out to carry him away. Vestan hadn't even worked up a sweat. The champion turned to face the crowd again. This time his eyes found the human section and stayed there. "I see we have honored guests tonight," Vestan said. His voice carried clearly through the arena without any amplification. "Representatives of Earth." The crowd turned to look at the human section. Lisa felt thousands of alien eyes on her. "Tell me, little softskins," Vestan continued. "What do you think of real combat? Does it frighten you to see what true warriors can do?" Lisa's hands tightened into fists. Around her, other human diplomats shifted uncomfortably. Jake put a warning hand on her arm. "Perhaps you wonder why the Federation grants membership to species so limited?" Vestan's voice carried amusement. "Surely there are better uses for oxygen than keeping ambulatory meat alive." The crowd laughed. Not all of them, but enough. Lisa felt heat rising in her chest. She had spent 8 years being polite to beings who looked down on humanity. 8 years of smiling while they made jokes about human weakness. Jake's grip on her arm tightened. "Captain, don't," he whispered. But Lisa was already standing up. Lisa Martinez stood in the diplomatic section while thousands of alien eyes stared at her. The arena had gone completely quiet. Even the background hum of the station's air system seemed to pause. "Captain Martinez of the Earth Federation challenges Vestan the Unbreakable to single combat," she said. Her voice carried clearly in the silence. The words hung in the air like a bomb waiting to explode. Jake Sullivan grabbed her arm harder. "Lisa, what are you doing?" he hissed. "Sit down!" But Lisa kept standing. She looked directly at Vestan in the ring below. The Karathi champion's forearms had gone completely still. His red eyes glowed brighter as he stared back at her. Then the Karathi delegation erupted. Clicking sounds filled the air as dozens of Karathi in the crowd expressed shock and amusement. Their language sounded like someone breaking sticks mixed with static from a broken radio. Lisa didn't need a translator to know they were laughing. Vestan raised one arm for quiet. The clicking stopped immediately. "Did the little soft skin just challenge me?" he asked. His voice carried mock surprise. "Perhaps I misunderstood. Surely no human would be so foolish." "You understood correctly," Lisa called back. "I challenge you to combat under Federation rules." The arena exploded into noise. Aliens of every species began talking, roaring, chirping, and making sounds Lisa had never heard before. Some of them sounded excited. Others sounded worried. A few sounded angry. Ambassador Patricia Wells appeared at Lisa's shoulder. The older woman's face was red with fury and embarrassment. "Captain Martinez, sit down this instant," Wells snapped. "That is a direct order." "I've already issued the challenge, Ambassador," Lisa said without taking her eyes off Vestan. "It's too late to take it back." "The rule forbids this," Wells said. "Humans cannot challenge Class A species. It's been galactic law for 3 centuries. Lisa finally looked at her superior. "I invoke Article 15 of the Cultural Honor Debt Provision," she said. "A member species may demand satisfaction for direct insults to their people's honor." Wells stared at her. Jake's mouth fell open. Even some of the nearby alien diplomats turned to look. "How do you even know about that law?" Wells asked. "I read the complete Federation Charter," Lisa said. "All 12,000 pages." In the ring, Vestan had been listening to the exchange. Now he laughed, a sound like rocks falling down a mountain. "The little meat creature knows some laws," he said. "How amusing." "Very well, Captain Martinez of Earth, I accept your challenge." The crowd noise doubled. Lisa could see officials from the Galactic Boxing Commission rushing toward their booth. They looked panicked. "This is impossible," one of them said when he reached the diplomatic section. He was a Centaurian with green skin and too many eyes. "The rule clearly states the rule," Lisa interrupted, "says that species of significantly different physical capabilities cannot engage in sporting combat. But Article 15 overrides sporting regulations when matters of cultural honor are involved." The official's extra eyes blinked in sequence. He clearly hadn't expected a human to know galactic law better than he did. Even so, he said, the physical requirements are waived under Article 15. Lisa finished. Look it up, more officials arrived. They huddled together, speaking in rapid whispers and checking data tablets. Meanwhile, news of the challenge was spreading through the arena and beyond. Lisa could see alien reporters speaking excitedly into recording devices. Captain, Jake said quietly, you're going to die. You know that, right? Vestan will kill you in the first 10 seconds. Lisa looked at her aide. Jake was a good man and a loyal friend. He had served with her for 3 years. She hated to see the worry in his eyes. Maybe, she said, but I'm tired of listening to them call us weak. We are weak compared to them, Jake said. That's just biology. Physical strength isn't the only kind of strength, Lisa replied. Ambassador Wells moved closer to them. Lisa, think about what you're doing. This isn't just about you. If you die in that ring, it will be a diplomatic disaster. Every species in the galaxy will see it as proof that humans don't belong in the Federation. And if I win? Lisa asked. Wells stared at her. You can't win. It's impossible. We'll see. The Boxing Commission officials finished their discussion. The Zentorian with too many eyes approached them again. The challenge is legal under Article 15, he said. His voice sounded like he was announcing someone's death. However, given the unusual circumstances, the Commission requires specific terms. Name them, Lisa said. Traditional Karathi combat rules, Vestan called from the ring. No weapons, no armor, no technological assistance of any kind. Combat continues until submission, unconsciousness, or death. The arena went quiet again. Those were the harshest possible terms. Most interspecies combat allowed for protective gear and safety protocols. Traditional Karathi rules had only one safety protocol. Don't die. Agreed, Lisa said without hesitation. Jake made a sound like someone had punched him in the stomach. Ambassador Wells closed her eyes and shook her head. The challenge will take place in 72 hours, the official announced. This will give time for proper medical facilities to be prepared and for legal documentation to be completed. Lisa nodded. 72 hours to prepare for a fight against the most dangerous warrior in the galaxy. 72 hours to figure out how a 5'6" human could survive against a 9-foot monster made of living armor. Lisa, Wells said quietly, I have to ask, do you have some kind of plan? Some advantage we don't know about? Lisa looked down at Vestan again. The Karathi champion was flexing his forearms, probably imagining how he would tear her apart. The crowd was already placing bets. She could hear numbers being shouted in a dozen languages. Not yet, she admitted, but I will. As the arena began to empty, Lisa remained standing in the diplomatic section. She watched Vestan leave through his tunnel. The creature moved with absolute confidence. Why shouldn't he? He had never lost a fight. No one had even come close to beating him. But Lisa had noticed something during his earlier fight. Something about the way he moved. The way his armor plates shifted when he struck. It might be nothing. It might be everything. She had 72 hours to find out. Jake, she said, I need you to find someone for me. Who? Any human scientist who studied Karathi biology. There has to be someone. Jake looked at her like she was crazy, which Lisa had to admit she probably was. You really think you can find a weakness? He asked. Lisa smiled for the first time since the challenge began. Every armor has a weak spot, Jake. We just have to find it. Dr. Alex Turner pushed his glasses up his nose as he stared at the datapad in his hands. He had read Lisa's message 3 times, but it still didn't make sense. You want to fight Vestan? He asked. They were sitting in his small office deep inside Nexus Station's research wing. Books and papers covered every surface. Half-finished coffee cups sat on stacks of reports about alien biology. I already challenged him, Lisa said. The fight is in 68 hours. Alex set down the datapad and looked at her carefully. He was a thin man with messy brown hair and tired eyes. He had spent the last 5 years studying every alien species he could find. Most people thought he was crazy for wanting to understand how different bodies worked. Lisa, he said slowly, Vestan has never lost a fight. Never. His exoskeleton can stop small explosions. His forearms can each lift 1,000 pounds. He moves faster than most ground vehicles. I know all that, Lisa said. What I need to know is how to beat him. Alex laughed, but there was no humor in it. You can't beat him. No one can. That's why the rule exists. Lisa leaned forward in her chair. Alex, you've studied Karathi biology more than anyone else in human space. You must have found something, some weakness, some flaw in their design. Why would you think that? Because you requested combat footage of every Karathi fight for the past 50 years. Jake found the request in the station's database. You've been studying how they move, how they fight. Why would you do that unless you found something interesting? Alex was quiet for a long moment. He got up and walked to a cabinet filled with data storage devices. His fingers traced over the labels until he found the one he wanted. I wasn't looking for weaknesses, he said. I was trying to understand how their exoskeleton works. The engineering is incredible. Each plate is connected to the others by flexible joints that can lock in place during combat. It's like wearing armor that becomes part of your skeleton. He plugged the storage device into his computer. The wall screen lit up with footage from an old fight. Vestan was younger, but just as deadly. His opponent was a Threxian twice the size of the one Lisa had seen earlier. Watch his upper left arm, Alex said. See how it moves when he throws a punch? Lisa watched carefully. Vestan's forearms worked together like parts of a machine. When one arm struck, the others provided balance and power. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Now watch this, Alex said. He slowed the footage down and zoomed in on Vestan's shoulder area. See that joint where his upper and lower arm segments connect? Lisa squinted at the screen. There was a small gap between two armor plates. It was barely visible, maybe half an inch wide. That's where the flexible connector sits, Alex explained. It has to be flexible so the arm can move in all directions. But flexible means vulnerable. Vulnerable how? Alex pulled up another video. This one showed a Karathi anatomy lesson he had recorded in his lab. A holographic skeleton rotated slowly in the air. The connector is made of cartilage like human joints, he said. But unlike human joints, it's not protected by muscle and fat. It's right under the surface of the skin with only a thin armor plate covering it. Lisa felt her heart beat faster. What happens if it gets damaged? The whole arm becomes useless. The Karathi can't control it anymore. But here's the interesting part. Alex called up more data. If the connector is damaged in a specific way, it doesn't just disable the arm. The shock travels through their nervous system and can cause temporary paralysis. How temporary? Maybe 10 seconds. Maybe 20. I've never seen it happen in combat because no one has ever been able to target that joint precisely enough. Lisa stared at the hologram. What would it take to damage it? Alex switched to a new display showing force calculations. Not much, actually. Maybe 50 pounds of pressure applied at exactly the right angle. The problem is getting close enough to apply that pressure, and knowing exactly where to strike, and doing it while four arms are trying to kill you. But it's possible? Theoretically. Alex turned to look at her. Lisa, are you really thinking about trying this? Because even if you could damage one arm, he still has three others, plus his legs, plus armor that could stop a missile. Lisa was quiet for several minutes, studying the hologram and the force calculations. Finally, she spoke. What if I could use his own strength against him?
What do you mean?
You said the connector breaks when 50 pounds of pressure hits it at the right angle. What if I could trick him into providing that pressure himself? Alex frowned. I don't understand. Lisa stood up and moved to the center of the room. Show me where that joint is on a human body. Approximately. Alex pointed to a spot just below her shoulder. About there, but remember, Karathi arms are much longer than human arms. And they have 4 of them. Lisa nodded and began moving slowly, as if she was fighting an invisible opponent. She ducked, turned, reached up with both hands. Alex, if I could grab his upper arm right at the joint, and if he was putting all his strength into a downward strike with that same arm, what would happen? Alex thought about it. His eyes widened. The force would be concentrated right on the connector. But Lisa, you'd have to time it perfectly. And you'd have to be incredibly strong to redirect that much power. I don't need to be stronger than him, Lisa said. I just need to be smarter. Over the next hour, Alex showed her everything he knew about Karathi biology. Their bone structure, their muscle groups, their nervous system. Most importantly, he showed her their fighting patterns. They're predictable, he explained. 300 years of never losing has made them overconfident. They use the same attack combinations over and over because they've never needed to change. Jake Sullivan arrived while they were reviewing fight footage. He looked tired and worried. Lisa, I've been trying to find you for hours, he said. The betting odds are up to 50,000 to 1 against you. And Ambassador Wells wants to see you immediately. What does she want? to talk you out of this. The Federation Council is putting pressure on her to withdraw the challenge. They're saying it will make humans look foolish when you lose. Lisa looked back at the hologram showing Karathi anatomy. The weak point glowed red on the display. Jake, I need you to find someone else for me. Who now? A combat engineer. Someone who understands leverage and force distribution, and maybe someone from the Marines who knows about hand-to-hand combat. Jake stared at her. You really think you can do this? Lisa looked at Alex, who was still studying his calculations. Alex, what do you think? Is it possible? The scientist was quiet for a long time. Finally, he nodded slowly. If you could somehow get him to commit all his strength to a specific attack pattern, and if you could position yourself exactly right, and if you could execute the counter move with perfect timing. He paused. It might work once. Once is all I need, Lisa said. She had found her plan. Now she just had to learn how to execute it without getting killed in the process. The arena was fuller than it had ever been in its 300-year history. Lisa Martinez walked through the tunnel toward the ring, and she could hear the noise through the thick walls. It sounded like a storm made of voices from 1,000 different worlds. Her body ached from 2 days of intense training with Sergeant Maria Santos. The Marine combat engineer had taught her everything she could about leverage, timing, and using an opponent's strength against them. Every muscle in Lisa's body felt like it had been stretched and twisted in ways it was never meant to go. Remember what we practiced, Maria had said an hour ago in the preparation room. Don't try to match his strength. Use his momentum. Let his power do the work. Jake Sullivan walked beside Lisa as they moved toward the ring. His face was pale and his hands shook slightly. Behind them, Ambassador Wells and Dr. Alex Turner followed in silence. Alex carried a data pad with all his research, though it wouldn't do any good once the fight started. The medical team is standing by, Jake said for the third time. Dr. Chen has experience with trauma surgery on humans. If you get hurt badly, they can have you in surgery within 90 seconds. I won't need surgery, Lisa said. Her voice was steadier than she felt. Lisa, there's still time to back out, Wells said. I've spoken with the Federation Council. They're willing to call this a diplomatic misunderstanding. We could say you were overcome by emotion and didn't mean to issue the challenge. Lisa stopped walking and turned to face her superior. Ambassador, in 12 hours, every species in the galaxy will know what happened here today. Do you want them to remember that a human backed down from a fight? Or do you want them to remember something else? Wells looked at her for a long moment. Finally, she nodded. What do you want them to remember, Captain? That humans don't give up. They reached the end of the tunnel. Lisa could see the bright lights of the arena ahead. The noise was incredible now. She had never heard so many different voices making so many different sounds all at once. Captain, Alex said quietly, remember what we discovered about his attack patterns. Vestan always leads with his upper right arm when he's angry. Always. And he'll be angry. Because you challenged him. I remember. The joint is exactly 4 inches below, where his upper and lower arm segments meet. You have to hit that exact spot. I remember. And you only have one chance. If you miss or if the angle is wrong. Alex, Lisa interrupted. I remember everything. Trust me. She stepped into the arena lights. The noise hit her like a physical force. 50,000 beings were on their feet, cheering, roaring, clicking, and making sounds she had never heard before. The energy was so intense she could feel it in her bones. Lisa wore simple athletic clothing, flexible pants and a sleeveless shirt, lightweight shoes with good grip. No armor, no padding, no protection of any kind. The rules forbade it. Across the ring, Vestan emerged from his tunnel. Even knowing what to expect, seeing him up close was still shocking. 9 feet of living armor with red eyes that burned like stars. His forearms moved with perfect coordination as he walked. Each step made a clicking sound as his armored feet touched the ring floor. The crowd noise somehow got even louder. Lisa walked to the center of the ring. Vestan did the same. Up close, he was even more terrifying. His head was level with her chest and she had to crane her neck to look at his face. Last chance to surrender, little soft skin, Vestan said. His voice carried easily over the crowd noise. I will try to make your death quick. That's very kind of you, Lisa replied. I'll try to do the same. Vestan's red eyes flared brighter. His mandibles clicked together in what might have been laughter. The referee was a neutral species from outside the Federation. It looked like a walking tree with too many branches. It raised several limbs for silence. Traditional Karathi combat rules, it announced in Galactic Common. No weapons, no armor, no outside assistance. Combat ends with submission, unconsciousness, or death. Combatants, are you ready? Ready, Vestan said. Ready, Lisa said. The referee stepped back. Begin! Vestan moved faster than Lisa had expected. Even after studying all the fight footage, his upper right arm came down like a hammer. Exactly as Alex had predicted. But the speed was incredible. Lisa threw herself to the side. Vestan's fist hit the ring floor where she had been standing. The metal bent inward and cracked. She rolled and came up running. Vestan turned to follow her, his red eyes tracking her movement. His other 3 arms were already moving, trying to cut off her escape routes. Run all you want, little meat, Vestan called. You only make it more amusing. Lisa kept moving around the edge of the ring. She needed to study his patterns in person, not just in old fight footage. She needed to see how he moved when he was hunting a fast opponent. Vestan lunged forward, all 4 arms striking at once. Lisa dropped and rolled between his legs. She came up behind him and tried to grab his upper left arm, but he spun faster than she could react. His backhand caught her across the chest and sent her flying. Lisa hit the ring wall hard enough to see stars. Pain shot through her ribs. The crowd roared with excitement. She forced herself to stand. Vestan was already coming toward her, moving with the confidence of someone who had won 1,000 fights exactly like this one. That was your best opportunity, soft skin, he said. You were too slow, too weak, too stupid to understand real combat. Lisa wiped blood from her mouth. Her ribs screamed with pain, but nothing felt broken. You talk a lot for someone who's supposed to be fighting. Vestan's eyes flared even brighter. You want less talk? Very well, he charged. This time Lisa was ready. She had seen his anger pattern now. When Vestan was furious, he led with his upper right arm in a devastating downward strike. His other 3 arms provided balance and backup, but the right arm carried all his strength and rage. Lisa waited until the last possible second. Then she moved. Instead of dodging to the side, she stepped forward and slightly to her left. Vestan's massive fist came down like a falling boulder. Lisa caught his upper arm with both hands, right at the joint Alex had shown her. For one perfect moment, all of Vestan's incredible strength was focused on driving his arm downward. All of Lisa's leverage and timing was focused on redirecting that force into the exact spot where his exoskeleton was weakest. The sound of Vestan's arm breaking echoed through the silent arena like a gunshot. The Karathi champion's roar of pain and shock shook the walls. His upper right arm hung at an impossible angle. The joint Alex had identified was completely destroyed. Vestan stumbled backward, staring at his ruined arm in disbelief. For the first time in 20 years of combat, he had been hurt. Lisa stood in the center of the ring, breathing hard but smiling. Your move, she said. The arena stayed completely silent for 10 full seconds. 50,000 beings from across the galaxy stared at Vestan the Unbreakable, who was no longer unbreakable. His upper right arm hung twisted and useless at his side. The joint that had never failed in 300 years of Karathi dominance was completely destroyed. Lisa Martinez stood 8 feet away, ready for his next attack. Her ribs hurt and her mouth was bleeding, but she was still standing, still fighting, still human. Vestan looked at his ruined arm, then at Lisa, then back at his arm. His red eyes blazed with an emotion Lisa had never seen from a Karathi before. Not anger, not confidence, fear. Impossible, he whispered. Then louder. Impossible! The crowd erupted. Voices in 100 languages filled the arena. Some aliens cheered, others made sounds of disbelief. The Karathi delegation sat in stunned silence, their clicking language completely quiet for the first time anyone could remember. Vestan charged again, but something had changed. His perfect balance was gone. Without his upper right arm to coordinate his movements, his other 3 arms couldn't work together properly. He was still incredibly strong, still incredibly fast, but he was no longer perfect. Lisa dodged his attack and landed a quick punch to his side. It barely scratched his armor, but it proved something important. She could hit him now. He couldn't protect himself from every angle with only 3 working arms. Lucky shot, Vestan snarled. 1 arm means nothing. I have 3 more. But Lisa could hear uncertainty in his voice. For the first time in his life, Vestan was in a fight he might not win. They circled each other in the center of the ring. Lisa was breathing hard, but Vestan was breathing harder. The shock of his injury was wearing off, replaced by the realization that his invincibility was gone. "You know what your problem is?" Lisa said as they moved. "You've never had to adapt. Never had to overcome. You've been strong for so long, you forgot that strength isn't everything. Strength is all that matters in combat," Vestan replied, but his voice lacked its earlier confidence. "Then why am I still standing?" Vestan attacked again, leading with his upper left arm this time. But his timing was off without his dominant arm to balance him. Lisa slipped inside his reach and grabbed his wrist, using his momentum to throw him off balance. The mighty Karathi champion stumbled. The crowd gasped. Lisa pressed her advantage. She stayed close, too close for his long arms to be effective. Every time he tried to create distance, she moved with him. Every time he swung, she was already moving to a new position. "This is how humans fight," she said during a brief separation. "We adapt, we learn, we overcome." Vestan was getting frustrated. His attacks became wilder, less controlled. Sweat began to show on his armored face despite the cool arena air. "Stand still and fight," he roared. "Make me," Lisa replied. She was using everything Maria Santos had taught her about leverage and timing, everything Alex Turner had shown her about Karathi anatomy, everything 8 years of diplomatic training had taught her about reading opponents and finding their weaknesses. But most of all, she was using something no other species in the galaxy had. Human stubbornness, human refusal to give up even when everything seemed hopeless. 5 more minutes passed, then 10. Vestan's movements became slower, more labored. His breathing was harsh and ragged. Fighting with a broken arm was taking more energy than he had ever needed to spend in combat. Lisa was tired too, but she had trained for this. 2 days of intense preparation with a marine combat engineer, hours of studying Karathi biology, a lifetime of being underestimated by beings who thought humans were weak. "Getting tired?" she asked during another brief pause. Vestan didn't answer. He was staring at her with something like respect in his red eyes. The end came suddenly. Vestan made one final desperate attack, throwing all 3 working arms forward in a crushing bear hug that would have ended the fight instantly if it had connected. Lisa dropped to the ground and swept his legs. For the first time in his career, Vestan the Unbreakable fell down. He hit the ring floor hard enough to crack the metal. Before he could get up, Lisa was standing over him. She offered him the traditional Karathi mercy gesture, one hand extended, palm up. "Do you yield?" she asked. Vestan looked up at her from the floor. The great champion who had never lost a fight. The warrior who had dominated galactic combat for 20 years. The being who had called humans weak meat just 72 hours ago. "I yield," he said quietly. The arena exploded into chaos. Lisa helped Vestan to his feet. It was the right thing to do, and she knew the gesture would be remembered across the galaxy. When the most dangerous warrior in known space needed help standing up, a human had offered her hand. "How?" Vestan asked as medical teams rushed toward them. "How did you know about the joint?" "We studied," Lisa said simply. "We learned. We prepared. That's what humans do when we're outmatched." In the diplomatic section, Ambassador Patricia Wells was staring at her datapad in disbelief. Messages were flooding in from every Federation world. Trade requests, military partnership offers, scientific collaboration proposals. In one fight, Lisa had changed how the galaxy saw humanity. Jake Sullivan was jumping up and down like a child, shouting at the top of his lungs. Dr. Alex Turner was frantically taking notes, already planning his next research project. But the most important reaction came from the Karathi delegation. Their leader, an ancient warrior named Thexkol the Wise, stood slowly and began the Karathi ritual of respect for a worthy opponent. One by one, every Karathi in the arena followed his lead. The same beings who had laughed at Lisa's challenge 3 days ago were now honoring her victory. 6 months later, Lisa stood in front of a mixed-species military academy on the Federation capital world. Behind her, a holographic display showed the moment of her victory over Vestan. The image had become famous across the galaxy, not because a human had won a fight, but because she had won it by thinking differently. The rule was clear. She told her audience of young officers from dozens of species. Humans couldn't challenge Karathi warriors because we weren't strong enough. But strength isn't just about muscles and armor. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is refuse to accept that you're too weak to try. In the back of the classroom, Vestan himself sat listening. His arm had healed, but his perspective had changed forever. He now served as a strategic advisor to the Federation military, teaching other species that there was always more to learn about combat. After class, he approached Lisa. "Captain Martinez," he said formally, "that lesson about human adaptability. You will include it in next week's curriculum?" "Of course," Lisa replied. "After all, we're all still learning." Vestan's mandibles clicked, and what she had learned was Karathi laughter. "Yes," he said. "Some of us learned that lesson the hard way." Lisa smiled. The same smile she had worn when she broke his arm and changed the galaxy's understanding of what it meant to be human. The rule had been clear. But humans, as the galaxy was still discovering, had a talent for rewriting rules that didn't make sense.